Commodity TV here at PDAC 2026. It's the first day. It's early in the morning, but so many people are around here, and I have the pleasure to stand beside Colin Healey, the CEO of Premier American Uranium. So thanks for your time, Colin.
Oh, thank you very much. A pleasure to be talking to you.
What's your first impression about the first day here?
It's incredible. It's incredibly busy. Tons and tons of people here, and right from first thing this morning, just a great vibe.
Yeah, I've heard they are awaiting record numbers of attendees, so over 40,000 people.
Yeah, I've been, as an analyst, I was coming here for a decade and a half, and this is one of the busiest years I've ever seen.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And you have a great company, so let's talk a bit about your company. I love your name because Premier American Uranium, so it's premium, it's in America, and it's uranium. So what have you achieved in 2025? And maybe also for our listeners who don't know the company, in a few sentences, what's it about?
Okay, yeah, I'll start with that. I mean, Premier American Uranium was founded on the principles of acquire, explore, develop, and we IPO'd in December of 2023. I've been with them shortly after, since March of 2024. Since I've joined, we've made 2 acquisitions of 2 separate public companies. The first one was in New Mexico. People are familiar with the name, already know that, that Cebieta project in New Mexico, which was the flagship of the company we acquired, never had a modern resource on it. Within less than 18 months, a resource update and PEA. And the second acquisition that we made last year in 2025 was nuclear fuels. More than doubled our ISR footprint in Wyoming. Over 100,000 feet were drilled there in 2025. More than that in 2024, and in 2026 it's going to be the same.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah.
To give us a bit of an overview about the uranium sector, and of course also about the sector in the US. So with all these, hopefully, political power, support, everything. So what's going on in your point of view?
I mean, one of the reasons that we decided to focus specifically on the U.S. is because even at the end of 2023, it was becoming very clear that some of the geopolitical things that were happening globally were highlighting the risks of having concentrated reliance on external sources of uranium to fuel your reactor fleet. U.S. has the largest reactor fleet in the world, 20% of domestic energy. And to us, there was a quantum shift in attitude towards nuclear happening there as well. So it seemed obvious that a country that consumes 47 million pounds a year and produces less than 5% of their domestic requirements and was prioritizing self-sufficiency was a great place to start consolidating uranium assets. So that's what we've gone out and done.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned your 2 projects. It's kind of a different. So you have 2 different types, 2 different styles. Can you explain me a bit what's the difference about?
Yeah, I mean, the difference is kind of, there's 2 main methods of production in uranium. There's in situ recovery, which is our Wyoming projects, and then there's conventional mining. And so the Cebieta project in New Mexico, which is our most advanced, 27.4 million combined inferred and indicated resource, 75% indicated. That one's an open pit, underground plus open pit mining scope, 1.4 million pounds a year scoped, 13-year mine life, making it one of the biggest undeveloped uranium projects in the U.S. So the big difference is the mining method. But one of the similarities that we tried to, there's only one licensed and conventional uranium mill one licensed and operating conventional uranium mill in the U.S., and that's the White Mesa mill owned by Energy Fuels. And I think that mill is going to be very, very busy in the coming years. So one of the things we wanted to do with this PEA was find a way to decouple this project from reliance on that mill. And we've done that by taking this heap leach approach, which is once it's leached and in solution, it's very much analogous to a satellite ISR processing facility where we're loading that uranium in solution onto resin, and then trucking that resin to 6 or 7 different facilities in the U.S. that are capable of processing it.
Nice. In terms of permits, do you see an acceleration from the government side?
I mean, the federal government has definitely prioritized rapid advancement of projects in the nuclear space end to end in the fuel cycle. We're seeing big progress in kind of the upper end of the fuel cycle on the reactor construction, financing, and enrichment side. But I think that we're not that far away from seeing significant investment and acceleration of uranium mine permitting. So I'm looking forward to the next 24 months.
Perfect. So drills are running. You recently announced drill results. Let's talk about that. So where do you see your highlights with the drill results?
Well, for sure, at Cyclone in Wyoming, we did a smaller program that completed just about 17,000 feet, and we hit one of the best holes that we hit the best hole that we've ever hit at that project, kind of reinforcing our thesis that it has great potential for resource delineation. But the KC project was a new acquisition for us in 2025, and there was over 100,000 feet drilled there in 2025, and what we showed was that these two areas on the eastern part of the property, Rustler and Stampede, look like they have continuity between them, and it's an 8-mile trend that's full of several roll fronts that we're going to follow up aggressively in 2026 with a similar size drill program.
Okay, cool, perfect. And with the technical report at Ceboletta, where do you see the key de-risking milestones investors should have to watch?
I think we've got a pretty unbelievable or pretty incredible and attractive plan for Ceboletta in 2026. So, we put out this PEA in 2025. I gave you the scope already, but what we can do here, we used an 80% base case uranium recovery assumption. That was based on similar numbers achieved in ISR mining. Heap bleach processing, we believe you can move that to something closer to 90%. And what the sensitivities analysis shows is that our after-tax NPV on our base case at 80% recovery is 84 million. We can increase that by 90% by moving to 90% recovery from 80%. So the plan for Ceboletta in 2026, we're going to drill a bunch of core holes that are already permitted. We're going to take that material to the lab. We've already contracted the best lab in the U.S. for that work. From there, we're going to run long-term column leach tests, which are going to inform we're targeting better recoveries, in which case, when we achieve that, we'll be able to update that PEA and potentially show a movement up that curve. And like I said, you're talking about moving from an 84 million base case NPV to almost 160 with just $1 million in spend. So I think that's incredibly valuable for investors.
Colin, that sounds amazing. 100%.
If we can achieve it.
And all your work, of course, needs money. Luckily, you have enough money. So you already closed 15 million investment. So you have cash in the bank.
That's right. We just closed a bought deal for 15 million. Gives us, depending on how we work with that money, 2 years of runway, gets rid of any financing overhang that there was. 100,000 feet of drilling in Wyoming probably will cost in the neighborhood of $4 million. And the work at Cebollatta's fairly well costed at around $1 million. So I think we're going to achieve a lot for not a crazy amount of spending. And we're going to be one of the most active exploration companies in the U.S. again this year.
100%. Wow. And what do you think between the next 6 to 12 months? What are your key drivers, your key catalysts?
In the next 6 to 12 months, for sure, one of the major focuses is getting that updated metallurgical test work done and restating the economics on the Ceboletta project, hopefully with a strong positive impact. Secondarily, drilling 100,000 feet at between Rustler and Stampede zones at the KC project. I think we're going to start to really have enough drilling in there to talk about how big that resource might be.
Wow. And when you compare PUR with your peers, do you think you have the right valuation, or where do you see you in this environment?
I think that there are some peers that are valued slightly better than us. I mean, we went through something in 2025 that some of our peers also went through. The URNM changed its structure and went through a special rebalancing. They owned 8% of our stock, and they had to sell it because the minimum hurdle for inclusion went from 25 million to over to 100 million, and that meant we're gonna have to fight our way back into that ETF. But we weren't the only ones. But that was an overhang. As soon as that went away in December, our stock moved from 60 cents to over $1, and uranium prices going up. We were able to get that financing done. So we no longer have any financing overhang. We no longer have the overhang of this ETF. So I think we're in a great position to outperform our peers and get that valuation up into the top echelon of our peers. And that's where I think it should be.
Sounds like a clean story. So now, as you said, no overhang anymore. So lots of drilling, lots of news coming in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
You have support from the U.S. government, from the federal government. So sounds like a great story.
Yeah, I think one thing that we didn't talk about that's incredible about this story is our shareholder base as well, and our board. You know, we've Mike Alkin and Tim Rotolo founded Sachem Cove. They own 20% of our stock, but Tim Rotolo is the chairman of our board. We've got Mike Harrison from Sprott on the board. We've got Marty Tunney, the Chief Operating Officer of ISO Energy. Phil Williams of ISO Energy as a strategic advisor. Between Sachem Cove at 20%, ISO at 8%, Encore at 6%, Mega Uranium at over 2%. We just have an incredibly strong shareholder base that I don't think you find in our market cap in this space.
100%. And then you also can have all the synergies with the experts, right?
Correct.
So perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Go further. Keep going. Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story.
Thank you.
And I'm a happy investor, by the way. So
Okay.
Thanks for your work.
Appreciate your investment.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Colin Healey, the CEO of Premier American Uranium. And you heard it. Uranium is hot. US is hot. There's so much support. They have enough cash in the bank. They are drilling. So lots of news are coming within the next couple of months. Check out the company. And here, bye-bye from Toronto.